After careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines, I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect. If simply declaring who you are is all that's required, then I meet every single requirement necessary to compete in the WNBA. My team and I have carefully examined the WNBA.
Well, it sure seems like former NBA player Enes Kanter Freedom is ready to call the WNBA's bluff because he says he's officially putting his name into the upcoming WNBA draft. In that video posted to his X account, Kanter says he and his team reviewed the league's eligibility criteria and believes that if those guidelines are applied as written, he should have no issue being allowed to compete in the WNBA. Kanter, who played 11 NBA seasons, is the first high-profile former NBA player to publicly take this step in an apparent effort to test whether the WNBA will stand by its stated policies of inclusivity. As Kanter put it,
A former NBA player has officially declared for the WNBA draft, and the timing of that declaration, coming within hours of the WNBPA releasing a formal statement supporting transgender inclusion in sports, has created one of the most significant institutional credibility challenges this league has faced all season. The loophole that critics have been warning about appears to be real. The league's own policy positions appear to have created the conditions for it, and now the WNBA must produce specific answers to specific questions that general values language simply cannot resolve.
A former NBA first-round pick just declared for the WNBA draft. What a time to be alive.
After careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines, I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect. If simply declaring who you are is all that's required, then I meet every single requirement necessary to compete in the WNBA.
This is hilarious because now the WNBA is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Either you're going to accept Enes Kanter Freedom and stick with your progressive liberal politics that would ruin your league and ruin women's sports, or you don't allow him in the league, just proving our point that men and women's sports is wildly unfair and unsafe, while coming across as wildly irrational, hypocritical virtue signalers. Your move, WNBA.
This is no longer a theoretical debate. This is a concrete institutional crisis unfolding in real time. Let us establish exactly what happened and in what sequence, because the timeline is everything here. The WNBPA released a formal statement expressing organizational support for XXXY athletics and calling on the political landscape to engage more robustly with issues of transgender athlete participation in sports. The statement was not informal commentary. It was a deliberate and considered institutional communication representing the official position of the union that represents over 200 professional women's basketball players. The language was clear and unambiguous. The union spoke about embracing justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. It spoke about protecting women's sports while creating transformational change.
This man is doing right now is absolutely brilliant and genius, and he's just following their rules, right? Because by WNBA standards, or what they're trying to claim is for eligibility, or you just have to identify as a woman. So he's like, okay, word. He's like, bet. If all it takes to be eligible to play in the WNBA is to feel or identify as a woman, then he wants to try out. He's going by your rules. So this man right now, I understand why he was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, because this is genius. This is awesome. See, because now one of two things happens. They either have to allow him to play, which is gonna look ridiculous, right? Or they're gonna have to admit that maybe self-identification shouldn't be the standard for eligibility. Yeah, that maybe biology is. So, Enes, bro, good job. But now I wanna hear from you guys. Do you think this is a genius move by Enes? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, love you guys. Peace.
Within hours of that statement being distributed publicly, a former NBA player announced on his social media account that after carefully reviewing the current WNBA eligibility guidelines, he was officially declaring for the WNBA draft. He accompanied the announcement with video content and framed the declaration as a considered decision based on his assessment of the rules as they currently exist. Let that sequence land completely before anything else enters this conversation.
NS Cancer Freedom, NBA player and American Patriot. I have a massive announcement coming out tomorrow. Let's do it. Stay tuned.
A professional sports union releases a statement supporting transgender inclusion in women's sports. Hours later, a former NBA player declares for that same women's sports draft, apparently having concluded after reviewing the current eligibility rules that the framework as written creates a legitimate pathway for him to do so. Whether or not that conclusion is legally correct under the rules as they are actually in action between the WNB proximity in timing combined with the sub's public declaration happened. Front page institutional crisis eligibility. Does the former NBA player's situation satisfy those criteria under the rules as written? Resolved through another statement about values and inclusion. It requires specific actually are when they are tested by a has previously said. A former NBA player declared for the WNBA draft hours after the WNBPA released a statement supporting transgender inclusion in sports. The France situation had already shown that this was not merely a theoretical policy concern. The eligibility framework appears to contain provisions that at minimum create ambiguity about who is permitted to declare. And now the league must answer for the specific rules it has allowed to exist, the policy positions it has publicly articulated, and the tension between those two things that this week has placed in direct and unavoidable public view. The kitchen is significantly hotter than it was at the beginning of this week. The institutional response must match that heat with specificity, clarity, and honesty that goes beyond values language. The moment for specific policy answers has arrived. Whether the league's leadership was ready for this moment or not, the moment is here.